Three, two, one, go.
Hello, everybody. This is Chris Stringer.
And this is Harold Sullivan. Welcome to the Sullivan Project podcast. What's up, Chris?
What's up?
Not much. I had a little difficult week with the transportation I was telling you about, but what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? I have to file another grievance against another company and see what else. I might have one more other ride place I can try, but they just don't want to go out past a certain time, especially on the weekend. And you can only usually find church uh, on Sundays and or not in the evening on the weekday or anything. So the particular one I wanted to go was Saturday evening. And there's no buses usually on the weekend, so it's hard for me to find that van, but I'll get through it. You know what I mean? Uh, there's some other reasons why I couldn't go. You know what I mean? God has things in the works, so we don't know everything right then. We're not supposed to. Sometimes we don't even know why certain things happen a certain way, but we don't have the big picture. You know, we wouldn't be able to we wouldn't be able to comprehend that in this body. To know everything. For someone that says they know everything, or people, it's not possible.
No,
Not in this lifetime. You know what I mean?
no,
Your brain wouldn't be able. That's the reason why you know you don't know everything. The body can't take it at once. It'd be like explosion or brain, whatever. So, but I figured we'd talk a little bit of gospel today. Like I was saying, in the Bible it says work 6 days, rest on the seventh. So they call that the Sabbath day. And so a lot of people don't work on Sundays. And I was going to go to church yesterday and talk about a couple of things in particular, but We'll talk about them. And we'll get your reaction. Let people know if you want to be on the show, or if you want to leave a message for me, Chris, or anybody else, or more proper, Chris and I should say. What is proper English now, though, right? And or if you want to, you want to leave a comment, share anything, we appreciate it. Harold Sullivan 78 on TikTok, Harold Sullivan 78 on YouTube, Harold Sullivan period 35 on Facebook. And then you can call the show 724-513-1472. Hey Google, what time is it? I almost forgot.
it's 6:16 p.m.
Okay, so what was it, about 12, 13 after probably? Alright, so yeah,
Yeah, it's about 13 after.
when we started, 13 after?
Yeah.
Okay, so 30, 40, 45, okay.
It's been
Alright, so uh, I want to make sure I got that time. But yeah, so we got that out. And yeah, everyone, you can't judge a book by its cover. Everyone has a story, right? You can't judge a book by its cover. And that's what we're here. Anybody can come out and talk or just whatever. Be free, be you. And love the choice and so is the hate too. That's something else that I like to say. So the gospel, what I was going to say about yesterday. Oh yeah, so I was going to go up and testify, but I didn't have. Yeah, like I said, I didn't have a way to get there. So what I was going to say is, let me tell you this stuff, and you can. So I was going to go in there, and it's basically it. There's usually only 10, 15 people, and it was a small church. I had went there a few times with Dan. So so I was going to go. So I was going to go in and say, hey, my name is Harold, and I'm a Christian. You know, and
yeah.
I was going to say that. You know what I mean? Kind of like an AA meeting. That's at least I never been to one, but so hopefully the crowd's hey, I'm a Christian too. We're Christians too. How many of us are in here Christians? Are you Chris? Chris, are you a Christian? Is that how you'd
I guess. Yeah.
clarify yourself, or you believe in God, right?
Oh yeah.
You have a
Yeah.
belief. So it doesn't really have, like I said, it doesn't have to be this group or that group or whatever. Just whoever you're higher, you have a higher power. Other people have a higher power. Some people have more than one God. Christianity is pretty much one of the few religions that tries to just claim one God. You know, most have many, many gods. God this, God that. You know, so. But I was gonna do that, and I was gonna say, hey, so what is Christian? What is it to be a good Christian? And Dan told me the other day he hasn't read his Bible in so long. And he feels bad. He feels bad all the time and doesn't know why. And, well, maybe read the Bible a little bit more. Read one verse. That's all it takes. You have to kind of have to get into a pattern. Like you wake up every morning and you brush your teeth, right? Well, wake up every morning and read the Bible, one page. That's it. Uh, or you're not going to do it. Because he said the classic thing. He says, "I'll get to it." Well, if you want help, then try that. It helped me over the last couple of years since I lost my sight. And he asked me that too. He said, let's see, what did he say? Oh, what was my favorite stories in the Bible? Oh no, let me go back to being a good Christian. Okay, now in a Christian, it doesn't matter what you have, okay, or how much you have. It's what you do with what you have. And in the Bible, there's a story about uh, the getting the coins, okay, and uh, Jesus gives these coins, and he gives some money to one person, some money to another, and like one to the third person. And so the two people try to take theirs and make more, and do more. The third person buries theirs and gets greedy and just don't want to, you know what I mean? So God kind of like, or takes it and gives them more, is where he tells you, I give you one, and what do you do with it? Yeah, it doesn't matter what you have. It doesn't matter how much you have, what you have, it's what you do with it. Okay, so if you can give, like, just answer a phone call, like if somebody's sad, like, they need a moment, they have a moment, just say, you don't have to do this, this, and this, and that. And it's okay he doesn't read the Bible every day. But if he answers the phone when I need to call, or someone else needs a friend, amen. That's being a good Christian. I kind of got to it a little bit long, but you know what I mean? That's all that matters. Doing the right thing, making the right choice, loving one another. That is being a good Christian. And that's what I was going to talk about. What is a good Christian? It's helping someone. It's giving, like in the Bible, it says if they take your coat, or if they take your cloak, give them your coat. Or if they take your coat, give them your cloak. So, give someone else. Even if you don't have nothing, give it to them. Give them what you have, you know what I mean? Even your enemy,
Yeah.
it says that too. Uh, give it to your enemy. Uh, but I don't believe I have enemies. I don't even do like that. I love everyone unconditionally now, and that's very hard to find. And if you find that, that's kind of what's supposed to be teaching you in the Bible. But so he said, "What did you learn? What's your favorite stories of the Bible, or whatever?" I said, "Well, there's so many characters, right? I like, of course, Jonah got swallowed by the whale, right? And I'll tell you a little bit about that. Uh, he wasn't a really good dude, and he was trying to get away, so he stowed on the ship. And then this big storm happened, because Jesus was going to take, or God's going to take him out. So they said, "Well, what can we do?" And, well, he said, "You can throw me over there." So they threw him over right in the water to get rid of him, because he was bad luck pretty much. And the whale swallowed him up, and he was alive in there for 3 days. There's lots of 3 days in the Bible. Like Jesus came back in 3 days. He rebuilt a tomb in 3 days. Jonah's in the well for 3 days, but he survived. He lived. He prayed to God for redemption, and then he got spit out on the safe, and he was on the island or whatever. And he's alive. So I like that story. And then there's weird stories in there about the baby, who the one lady, her baby dies, and there's another lady who uh, takes her baby, takes another lady's baby, right, and switches the baby. So she has the alive baby, and the other baby has a dead baby. And so they take it to the king, and then he says, "Well, we're going to cut the baby in half then. Give you half, give the other mother half." And so the real mother says, "No, no, no, that's okay. Let the." And so the king, figures it out and gives the right mother the baby. But it's just different kinds of stories, uh, right? Jesus turns water into wine. Several, I'm sure you heard of that, right?
Yeah, I heard of that.
I mean, there's a wedding, right? Which they edit a part out, and some people might not like this, but if you go by the story that Jesus was married to Mary Magdalene, Mary of Magdalene, then the wedding scene in the Bible was Jesus' wedding, but they don't tell you whose wedding it is. Uh, But anyway, there's water and they don't have enough wine, and Jesus just touches it and makes all his wine out of water. He does that with food lots of times too. Like he'll take two fish and 4 loaves of bread, and he'll make enough to feed 5,000. Yeah, he just touches it. I don't know how, but all of a sudden there's 5,000 people can eat off of 2 loaves of bread. That's amazing. So there's that kind. And of course, Adam and Eve. We'll break down the basic story of Adam and Eve in the Bible, is whereas uh, God put Adam to sleep and took his rib out and made Eve right from his rib. And then so they lived in a garden, and there was a couple of trees, and they were not allowed to eat from the tree of knowledge. And God said, if you eat from that, you'll die, or if you touch it, you'll die. So the serpent comes along, the snake, and who's the snake? You heard of the snake, right? That's the devil, right?
Makes me laugh.
What, the devil?
Snake.
Well, that's who it is. Yeah, the serpent. They call it the devil. So he comes along and says, "Oh, surely you can eat. What are you talking about? You're not gonna die." So, uh, of course, it all started with that, and I wrote a song about it, which I'd like to get out one day. But the first argument in history was started over an apple, and that's what they call Adam's apple, right? That thing in people's throat. I never put it together, even though it says in the Bible that the fruit was more like grapes, or it was bushel. It was bunches. It wasn't. But Adam's apple, how people have that thing in their throat and they call it an Adam's apple.
Yeah.
That's the Adam's apple has to be from the Bible, but the fruit on the tree didn't look like an apple. It's described more like a berry. But anyway, he said, "Don't eat that. If you do eat it, you'll die." So the serpent convinced Eve to grab one down and take a bite, and she did. And then she became smart. They called it. She became aware, and she convinced Adam to eat it, and he became aware because they were running around naked before that, right? Yeah, they were. They weren't. They didn't. They were not intelligent, and so from then on they became.
Obviously.
Yeah, they became aware, and they grabbed some leaves and covered their privates, right? And they ran and hid. And God was, "Oh, where are you at? What happened? What?" And he said, "Wait a minute. Something ain't right here. Why are you covering up?" They said, "Well, we were naked. We didn't want you to see us." Well, you done messed up and ate from the tree. So that's what started the sin for man, uh, eating from the tree of knowledge, and they weren't supposed to. So that's Adam and Eve's basic story. And then they had Cain and Abel, and they had another son. And Cain and Abel, where Cain slew Abel, that's where he was jealous of his brother, so he killed him. And you go on and on, and then who Noah is with the ark, right? And Moses with the tablets. Moses got the tablets, right, with the 10 Commandments up on the mountain. God had to go up. See, people who didn't see God, he just spoke from the mountain and clouds and different things most of the time. Jesus they saw, but they never saw God. Uh, but Moses had to go to the top of the mountain, and Moses fell down on the way down the first time and broke the tablets, and God had to write them again. I mean, what the heck? But they just said they were seared by the finger of God. Like, I guess God just used his finger like a laser and wrote into two stone tablets. They called them tables, but they're tablets. And that's the 10 Commandments. Honor thy, I don't know them all. Honor thy father, thy mother. Thou shalt not steal, kill. Basically just don't do wrong. So, but yeah, then you have Noah and the ark he took two of everything on to save everybody, and they're all related, right? So back in the day, it was incest. It's not allowed, but back then there had to be, because there wasn't enough people. And if Noah took everybody on the boat and it was all his family and they're all two by two, then they're all related. So they continued on you know what I mean? But it's all good. I mean, there's lots of good stories in the Bible. Uh, hey Google, what time is it? We started at 13. 6:27 p.m. Right, 13 after. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that story there. Who else? I'm just giving you some of the main ones, but there's 2,189 chapters in the Bible. You know, they don't really mention much about Jesus except for after he's born. Then he's a kid once they mention him, and then they mention him as a man. And then when he dies, I guess after he comes back from being dead, he just reascends up into the, I don't know, he just floats away and doesn't come back. So I think that's 40 days later after he comes back, after he's risen, after they killed Jesus. I'll tell you the basic story, okay? Uh, One of his guys, his disciples, was supposed to turn him in, and because they were trying to find him, the government for harassy because of him teaching people, and they only wanted certain religions taught and certain things a certain way. And so Jesus, even though he knew he could be wanted and murdered for this, he still went and with his beliefs. You know what I mean? So that's what. So one of his buddies turned him in for 30 pieces of silver at the time and sold him. And so they came for Jesus, and they took Jesus and they put him up. What they did back then, they put him up on a tree and they would hang him or whatever. There's different ways, but there was actually other people up there that day, and Jesus, they let a murderer go, and they took Jesus because the crowd was like, take him, because he's claiming this and that, and he knows the God and all this. So they actually let a murderer go, and they took Jesus because it was just basically, we got to kill somebody today. You know what I mean? So they took Jesus and hung him up there, and they put the stakes through both of his hands and his palms, right? And then they crossed his feet and put the nail through his feet and nailed his 2 feet together and into the pole, right? They put a crown on him of thorns, like on top of his head, mocking him, calling him the King of the Jews, because that's what he say he was the king of the. They call him. And then to make sure he was dead, they stabbed him in the side and let him bleed out, and then left him up there. But he said in 3 days I'll return. And so after he was dead and everything, they put him in the rock tomb and they rolled the thing in front of it. And when they went there, like 2.5 days later, Mary Magdalene went there. She was the first one to notice that the rock was removed and gone. Jesus was gone. And here he was walking into town already. He's up and walking. So that's the basic story there. Yeah. So how do you explain that? Uh, let me tell you a couple Bible verses. The first few I learned from the Bible. Uh, see here, Proverbs 9:10. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. All right, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And then we have, see here, Matthew 7:12. Do on, make sure I got the right ones in order. Do unto others as you would have them do to you. I'm sure you've heard that one. And then we have uh, Matthew 9, Matthew 19. That might be John 8:7. John 8:7. Matthew 19:26 is with God all things are possible. Okay, that's right. All right, man. And then we got John 8:7. It is. I'm sweating. John 8:7 is let ye who be without sin cast the first stone, and he's actually talking about Mary Magdalene in that one. Because in the Bible she was called a whore, and there's all these other things. And, yeah, prostitute. Yeah, but there wasn't no justification. They didn't want women to have power, so they didn't want, oh well, Jesus hung out with women. You know what I mean? And that's not good. And Constantine and other people, they edited the Bible and all that, and put things together and cut things out and reworded and changed and just made it all just the way they wanted to run everybody. So that's what's messed up about it. But hopefully I got those numbers on those Bible verses. See, John 8:7 is let you who be without sin cast the first. Matthew 7:12, do unto others as you would have them do to you. Matthew 19:26, with God all things are possible. And in Proverbs 9:10, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Right, yeah. Okay. it's hard for me to because the audio Bible I have to it doesn't like I can't just stop it and be like, well, what chapter? I'll know what chapter, but I can't be like, what verse is that? So I have to try to remember the words and then Google with my voice and find out what chapter, what verse, so I know. So I'm doing it though, and pretty neat though. You know what I mean? We'll talk more about this stuff here in the future. As I'm learning, I'll try to help you learn. And if you have questions about any of that stuff, you come out, let me know.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll give you some light here, and you'll help you open up a little bit there. So, uh, hey Google, what time is it?
It's 6:34 p.m.
6:34. And what time was it? 6:13.
Yeah. We've about 20 minutes or so.
Okay. So let's see. We're talking about a couple Sullyisms I've come up with uh, over the last year and a half or so. I've been writing just little mantras. I've told you a few of them already. Fight fire with water is one of them. It's simple things to remember. That means you don't. If it's fire, you don't fight fire with fire. You try to calm it down. Come with love if there's a problem. If you walk into a room and you can sense it's hostile, try to pull the energy down and you know just respond and don't react. A lot of people just come. They already think that something's going to be a certain way and they just get you know, overreact and then it doesn't even end up that way. So we got that. Praise always is a one I came up with a long time ago. That means just praise to God, just thank God or whoever your higher power is, whoever you believe in, or if you just believe in you, that's another one I came up with. If all else fails, just believe in you. But praise always, yeah. Don't call upon God like he's a blank check or it's Christmas time. I need this, I want that, I want that. That's not what it's for. God ain't Santa Claus. Yeah, praise when you're sick. How about that? Or when you're not feeling good. Thank God anyway. Thank God still. Say, hey, I'm still alive. Don't just be like, oh, I got this and I'm happy now. Thank you, Jesus. It's easy to do that then, right? But praise always. Uh, if you want to be something else, you have to be different. That's kind of deep right there if you think about it. One man is every man. Uh, God got me. Who got you? Uh, Here's a really deep one. Forget to remember. Think about that one, because you have to forget everything that you know that you ever learned to remember who you really are and where you came from. And once you do that, you'll have peace in heaven on earth, and there you go. But we've been programmed since we're born, and we have to pretty much erase all that to to be the light, to see the light. You know, it took me losing my sight, and bam, you know, there you go in the darkness, and I had to do something by one way or the other, and I'm glad God was like, hey, you're here for a reason. We're all here for something. It's just not an accident. Come on now. I don't believe in accidents, coincidence, or mistakes. Everything is planned out, happens. We do have free will, though. That's the problem here. That's where all the sinning and everything comes from. That's because man can choose to do bad, and they do. That's what's sad. That's what sucks. But we do have a choice to love too. Like I said, love is a choice, and so is the hate. So you can walk up and give anybody a hug. It's free, right?
Yep.
So what else here? Uh, Luck is a lack of faith. I like to use that one because there's no such thing as luck. You either something's going to happen or it's not. It ain't a lucky thing. Uh, See, luck is a lack of faith. Oh, there's so many of them. Oh, the key is forgiveness. That's another one. The key is forgiveness. I came up with that because this ring that I'm wearing has some crystals in it, and it kind of feels like a key to me. And I was having a tough time one day, and I was just holding the ring, just touching it. And I was like, wait a minute, the key is forgiveness. You know, if you're starting to get upset with someone, just forgive them. Just let it go. And then you're good to go. You don't have that no more. Because people can't feel what you're feeling. You're the only one that can. If you get upset at someone, they have no clue, and so you're just gonna carry it with you, and they're happy as they can be, you know. So that's what I'm learning. You know what I mean? I carried stuff with me for my whole life, and it only bothered me, right? It only bothered me. It didn't bother anybody else. They just went on with their day after stuff happened. So I have to learn. I had to learn to just. It's hard to not be so sensitive too. I've always been very sensitive, like high sensory perception. There's so many words for it. I just found a new word, which neurodiversity, which we're going to get more into in the future. But it's a new word for people, you know. You might even fall under that category. I'm not sure. But it's instead of having people there's something wrong with you because you got this, this, and this. How about no? Well, everybody's perfect the way they are, and certain people's brains are a little bit different. But it's neurodiversity. It doesn't mean that you're a reject or a freak or there's something wrong with you because you have letters like OCD or ADD or ADHD or bipolar or whatever. Whoever has whatever, that's all crap and garbage to me. You know, that don't mean anything. You're human and you're perfect the way you are, and you don't have to be labeled. So I want a world where people can just be the way they are and they don't have to have, oh, this person has OCD. It doesn't matter, you know. So they are the way they're supposed to be. God made you that way for a reason. So, and we're not supposed to be one person the same. Everybody looks the same, and just dresses the same, acts the same, nothing. Everybody's supposed to be different, so we can learn. And I'm gonna go with this. We're gonna end it with this. Uh, Try to do. There's three things I think everybody should try to do each moment. At least you gotta love every moment, and then you should try to learn or teach at every moment. So, or maybe all three. But every moment should be learnable, teachable, lovable. All right. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah,
All right. Well, we'll be back again, Chris. Right?
yeah, we'll be back.
Uh,
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
yeah. There you go. Chris loves you. We all love you. Be the light.